Hey everybody, 10, 10, 10, and what a great day. It's incredible for me to know that right now, as you're watching this, there is a group of inspiring, passionate individuals who are leading the way in trying to fight climate change and ultimately allow us as a species to live on this planet as we know it. So first I'd like to thank His Royal Highness. I'd like to thank Zayed Environmental Impact Network and obviously 350.org for having the vision and the courage and the dedication to convene this environmental salon that you're launching today under the slogan of Consume Wisely. I'm really sorry that I can't be there. I am actually currently in Los Angeles and trying to curb my own footprint. Obviously, I would love to have joined you to meet all the great minds behind the activities that are going to unfold today. But I am stuck here. Instead, hopefully, you'll be happy with this video message. I guess really what I wanted to do is just share a few simple lessons that I learned during the project, the Plastiki, that I was just involved in. For all of you who may not know what the Plastiki is, we basically built a boat out of 12,500 2-liter bottles straight from the trash, and we sailed it from San Francisco to Sydney to try and highlight waste as a resource and to showcase that waste was really inefficient design. But more importantly for me, I think there were a number of key lessons that hopefully I can share with you that will be useful in some of your discussions today and may hopefully stimulate some thought around what you can do as an individual to take those first steps. I think the big part about it, and that I always kind of tell everyone, was that it was a sheer sort of determination and stubbornness. That was my first lesson, was to really focus on the goal and never waver from that. It's so often easy to take the path of least resistance. We do that every day, I guess, with our consumer habits by buying plastic water bottles or using plastic bags or, basically putting ourselves in a position where we're using products and services that are detrimental to the environment. I call that the path of least resistance. And sometimes when you set yourself a goal, it is very easy to go down that path, mainly because of the pressures outside that put their agenda onto you. Often people would say to me, "You're crazy. There is no way you can build this boat. There is no way you'll be able to sail this across the Pacific." And I think that spurred me on. And so I think my first lesson is to listen to your instincts, to follow your instincts, whatever they may be, for whatever initiative it is that you're trying to launch. And just go for it and don't waver from your goal, however big your vision is. We need visionaries to come together like you are today to tackle these issues. I think the second piece I learned about this was, even though it was a project that I launched, even though it was my idea, I quickly recognized that nobody was as smart as everybody. And I think that's the second big lesson, was that we really have to start working together as a species, as a group, to action real change. It's really important that all of us have our visions and our ideas, and it's really important that we all have our programs that we want to initiate and launch. But what's even more important is that we all work together on those initiatives, that we start to basically create a central movement, a people movement, a movement that allows people to come together to fight this really disastrous path that we're on right now. And I think you recognize very quickly that actually many minds are much smarter than one mind. So that was probably my second learning point that I hope will reflect in your conversations today. I think the third point really was when I was out on the Plastiki, when you're sitting there on the endless horizon of the ocean, you start to recognize that a big part of our problem is that we fundamentally have disconnected from the web of life. We've created a false dichotomy that there's nature on one side and we're on the other side. So the big challenge whenever creating a campaign or a movement, or just as an individual, is to ask yourself, how do I reintegrate into the web of life? How in this everyday life where everything is so processed and packaged and automated, do I start to make a connection with where that product and service came from, to start to question its sustainability footprint, to start to ask if I can make this in a better way. So I think being out on the ocean and having that ability to live out in nature really did give me that drive to recognize that we are just one species in millions of species. We're very vulnerable, and we really have to start to not look at nature just as fuel for our consumptive habits, but actually look at it as our life support machine. And to that end, we have to start, obviously, protecting it more closely. I think the fourth lesson that I really learned on the Plastiki was the ability and the power, rather, to tell stories. I think a big part of the problem with environmental campaigning has been, for the most part, that it often feels a little bit distant, or it feels a little bit abstract. And it's very hard for a lot of individuals who aren't as passionate or as curious as you might be to connect with the message, because sometimes it feels a little intimidating, a little large. So I think the power of storytelling is incredibly important. Had I just said I was going to do a recycling campaign, I don't think the world's media or attention or interest from the consumer and everyday folks would have been as high. But as we realized, what we needed to do was to create a big story. So we basically came up with this idea of, as I said, building a boat out of plastic bottles to sell across the Pacific. And by doing that and by telling that story, we automatically started to inform the world about marine pollution, about the fact that waste is inefficient design, the fact that we can solve these problems through smart use of materials and recycling programs and refusing single-use plastics. So I would say that storytelling is a really, really key component, and it very closely ties into the other part of it, which is being curious. And I want to congratulate all of you guys, because already you're being curious, and I guess already you're creating stories. But both storytelling and curiosity really can drive change. So once again, I want to thank all of you guys for letting me be involved in this. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there. Obviously trying to help us contribute to reaching that target of 350 parts per million, keeping our carbon footprint as low as possible. I hope that the day is a success, as I know it will be. Thank you again for being visionaries and convening this environmental salon, and I look forward to hearing the outcomes as they ripple around the world, affecting the change that I know we all so desperately want to see, and I know that nature is desperately craving. So have a good day, enjoy it. It's a great initiative, and I look forward to being part of it in the future. Take care.